Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks. We're putting out a real quick video here, kind of off our schedule, but I wanted to note, of course, the passing of Jerry Lee Lewis, the last man standing, right? He was the final member of the Million Dollar Quartet to leave us. Really, I don't know, probably the last like major figure from that like first burst of rock and roll, right? I mean, Elvis and Roy Orbison and Carl Perkins and all those guys, are gone. Little Richard, um, and Jerry Lee. See, I think he's probably the last one, right? So it's a notable passing. It's a notable passing. I guess we always show stuff here. I don't have a whole lot of Jerry Lee Lewis, honestly. Um, I have, well, on CD, I've got just a collection of the original, Sun singles. They're pretty awesome. On vinyl, I've got, is it the golden hits of Jerry Lee Lewis on Smash Records? A lot of these guys, and he did this too. When they would jump labels and they'd sort of re-record their most well-known songs. And so I think this was 1964, something like that, when this came out. But I don't know. I guess you probably want to stick with the original, the original recordings. Yeah, I mean, any rock and roll pianist, at some point, you got to trace their lineage back to Jerry Lee Lewis. Looking at you, Elton, right, and Billy, and anyone else you can think of, who played rock and roll piano at some point. Traces it back to Jerry Lee Lewis, and he also, I think, was a pioneer in the rock and roll attitude. I mean, that guy, yeah, they didn't call him the Killer for nothing. I mean, that guy was scary, a little crazy, right? Cousin of Jimmy Swaggart. That always cracked me up. That Jim, Jimmy Swaggart and Jerry Lee Lewis were cousins. That would have been fun Thanksgiving dinners. Uh, anyway, yeah, I mean, just one of the originals, and well, I think something else that he he pioneered is the rock and roll scandal, right? One of the first scandals in rock and roll that I can think of, when he married his 13-year-old cousin. Yeah, I don't know what to say on that one. And his career never totally recovered from that. Although he kind of transitioned into a sort of unlikely country star for a while. In the later years. Um, but yeah, the it kind of presents an interesting question, right? When you've got, yeah, I mean, you can start with Jerry Lee, but go further down the line to incredibly talented, important people who have some uncomfortable scandals. How do do you look past the behavior and just appreciate the art? I don't know, Michael Jackson, right? you know, take for a later example. Um, but yeah, you go all the way back to Jerry Lee, and it's kind of uncomfortable, interesting questions to ask. But personal, life aside, and scandals and all that, at the very core, I guess you really have to appreciate the contributions, from Jerry Lee Lewis to this music we all love called rock and roll, right? Let's take a moment to note the passing of, I think, the last of that generation, really. So, anyway, rest in peace, Jerry Lee. And we'll see you guys next time on Amity Tracks. We'll be back on schedule on Tuesday. Although my editor and I are in intense discussions over what we ought to post on Tuesday. We got several options, that we're working with. But anyway, we'll see you guys next time. Please do subscribe. I definitely would appreciate it. And hit the like button and hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. And we'll see you later.